Alright, well, I could not get my PowerPoint presentation to show up on a screen behind me or on this video. So what I've done, I have printed off the slides. There are 8 of them, including the works cited. So what I'll do, I've posted them on ELC, and I'll also email them to you so you can follow along, and I'll just cue whenever I'm going to the next slide, and we'll go from there and hope it works. Alright. My name's Chad Aycock. I'm presenting on the spread of Islam in North Africa. Next slide. Islam. It's a missionary religion. Ideologically and historically, it's a post-Jewish and post-Christianity religion. For the Quran, it considers Jews and Christians to be people of the book. Next slide. The Dhimmis, they're considered the protected people. Now, they are communities of Jews and Christians who have the freedom to practice their faith in return for paying a poll tax. Now, the poll tax, it gives them that freedom to practice their faith, but it also it protects them physically as well as economically from military service. Now, another way to look at the Dhimmis is just non-Muslim citizens in Islamic states. Now, they originally consisted of just Christians and Jews, the Dhimmis that is, but later on, the term Dhimmi has started to include Zoroastrians, Hindus, Buddhists, and Mandaeans. Now, the Dhimmis were forced to wear specific clothing or distinctive clothing. For example, in the 9th century, Baghdad's Caliph al-Mutawakkil, he forced the Jews to wear this yellow badge, and I have that yellow badge, a picture of it on the next page, and it's basically just a yellow star, and it just distinguished them in public. It just kind of separated the Jewish Dhimmis from the regular Muslim people in public. Alright, so next slide, there's the star. And then the slide after that is where we'll pick up now. It's the early spreading of Islam. We'll start with that. The early spreading, it was first through conquest and military occupation. And the Byzantine and Roman world, as well as all of the Sasanian Persian domains, that they yielded to the Arab armies. Now, the later spreading, that ended up being preaching and living examples were the main sources of spreading, and the preaching and living examples, they spread Islam to China, Southeast Asia, as well as East and West Africa. Now, the modern spread of Islam, that's done mainly through migration and missionary efforts, and that's taken Islam to the Western Hemisphere. All right, so next slide. North Africa. The Muslims moved to North Africa in the second half of the 7th century, but prior to that, it's important to know that North Africa was a Roman province, and just as equally important as that, it was the home of Latin Christianity. But that was prior to that second half of the 7th century. And the Umayyads established their capital in Damascus in 661. Now, about 100 years later, under the Abbasids, the capital was moved from Damascus to Baghdad, and that was in 762. Now, this caused the orientation of the Eastern Islamic domains. They became more Persian than Arab and more Asian than Mediterranean. All right, next slide. In the 19th and 20th centuries, North African scholars and Sufi masters, they played a key role in the region's fight for independence from the European colonial powers. Now, going along with this, they helped preserve the religious and cultural identity of their people, and they mobilized them to resist Italian and French colonization in Libya and Algeria. All right, the next slide is my works cited page. You'll see the 2 main sources I used, and then that and then I also used the book. So that concludes my presentation on the spread of Islam in North Africa. Thank you.